Hello and welcome to Pickleball Therapy, the podcast dedicated to your pickleball improvement. I hope you're having a great day, a great week, and a great holiday season. My name is Tony Roig. I am your host of this weekly podcast. This week's podcast, I wanted to talk to you about finding the perfect partner. Been a lot of scuttlebutt out there about Ben Johns and Collin Johns' brother not partnering for 2025 and Ben looking for a new partner. So there's been a lot of opinions being shared about who would be the best partner for Ben for 2025. And I thought it was a good time to talk a little bit about picking a partner, right? How do you pick a partner? What do you look for and things like that? So we're going to do that in this week's podcast as we get ready for 2025. And then in the riff, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the journey and maybe what is it that you want for yourself in 2025. That might help inform what you're looking for in a partner. As we dive into the podcast, these podcasts are made possible by the work that we do at Better Pickleball, including the Better Pickleball Academy. So if you're thinking about 2025 being a new year for you and something different that you want to do for yourself and your pickleball game, check out the Better Pickleball Academy. It's it's going to be good content. It's provided to you by the Better Pickleball coaching team, so you know that the information in there is going to be relevant and actionable and going to help your game. So you can check that out at betterpickleball.com. Just click on Academy and check out the offerings there. All right, let's dive into picking a partner. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, Ben Johns is no longer going to play with his brother. It's the end of an era, if you will. It's a little bit sad, in the sense that, they're brothers. They get to play together. That's kind of cool. But, for Ben and Collin, it's, I imagine they love pickleball. But pickleball is their business. I don't know Ben that well. I know him, like saying hello to him at tournaments and things like that. But I actually know Collin reasonably well. I met Collin when he was first starting out playing pickleball. He started playing here in the Tampa Bay area. He used to play at a club called Bardmore here, and with Damon, Marissa, and the folks there, with Tom DiCaprio, myself, some of the other players that would go out there and play with Collin. And obviously, he was athletically very gifted. He came from tennis, was a very, very good tennis player. So he picked up pickleball pretty quickly. And I've stayed in touch with him from time to time. And, he's a great thinker of the game. He's been at our summit a couple of years, sharing some ideas and things. And he doesn't mind using terms that are not sexy or clickbaity, kind of like we do. One of the summits he presented was basically about discipline and how discipline is important at all levels of play. You can imagine, a conversation about discipline doesn't get a lot of views, doesn't get a lot of traction, but it's the kind of conversation that actually will make a difference to you. So I have a lot of respect for Collin and for Ben, obviously, as ambassadors for our sport. So the conversation that we've been seeing on Facebook and in videos and things, everybody's been jumping on this, podcast. I think that Thomas at the Dink was maybe the one to break the story. But, the idea is that, Ben's looking for a partner for 2025. So all these ideas about different players that Ben can partner with, and different advantages and things like that. So, why not use this opportunity to explore what kind of criteria we can use to find a partner. And you can use this, if you play rec play, you can use it kind of conceptually. And I'll share a personal story about a rec game that I played a few days ago, the day before Christmas Eve morning, and we played in a mixed group, and I played with different partners, and they're all cool, but there's one partner in particular who, the way we jive on the court helped us prevail in that match, and I'll share that with you. So you can use it in rec play in terms of how you approach different partners that you're playing with. But if you're going to play competitively, whether in tournaments or leagues or anything like that, this is a way to think about how to select a partner that makes the most sense for you. Because here's the thing, when you think about pickleball doubles, it's a team sport. And I would submit to you, it's as much a team sport as any sport that you think of traditionally being a team sport, like basketball and things like that. You need the performance of the individual player. So like you need the basketball player who can either rebound, dribble, pass, shoot, right? Do the individual acts that make that basketball player a good basketball player. Same thing in pickleball, right? You want to be able to hit your dink, hit your serve, hit your return, hit your volleys, things like that. But there's the second element to it in doubles, which is how well do you play with your partner? Court coverage, assignments, strategy, supporting each other, things like that. And so, when you think about playing with another human being, right, partnering with another human being on a pickleball court, what is it that makes for a good partnership? So the number one thing that I have on here is shared goals, okay, on the list. So shared goals basically means that are you both looking for the same thing, right? So for instance, let's say that you both want to dominate, right? You and your partner, your objective is we just want to beat everybody, right, in our league or whatever you're playing in, right? That's our objective. If that's your goal, that's your objective, then what does that translate to in preparation for that event? It translates into drilling a lot, practicing a lot, like really honing your skill set, working to, getting together and working on playing together as partners, right? Working on timeouts, working on all sorts of things that the elements that will take you to your shared goals. So in that situation, if you both share that goal, then that's going to be a good partnership, right? What if you both want to participate in those types of events like tournaments and league, but it's more about the experience, right? So tournaments could be you want to travel. League play could just mean, I just want to go Tuesday. I want to compete at a reasonably high level, but I'm not that concerned about whether we win or not. Then as long as you and your partner are on the same page, that works too, right? Because you're both seeking the same sort of thing. When issues arise is when there's a split in goals between the two partners. So you have one partner that wants to, kick ass, take names, and just, destroy everybody. And the other partner is there to spend time with their friend, and just enjoy the moment. In that case, that's where you could have a falling out, if you will, because you have different interests in why you're going to that. Like for instance, the U.S. Open's coming up in 2025, like it does every year. There's different players trying to find partners, and there's different reasons to go to the U.S. Open. Maybe you just want to go to Naples and, enjoy the experience and do the best you can. That's fine. Maybe you want to go down there and you want to compete for a medal, and anything less than a medal isn't satisfactory to you. I don't know that that's a good metric for yourself, right? Because anyway, there's another conversation. But if you and your partner are on the same page, at least you can put in the work necessary to do that. So number one, in terms of picking a partner, would be shared goals. And you can do this in rec play because, like if you step out on the court in open play and you know that this player is a win at all cost player, it's not to say you have to become a win at all cost player if that's not your way of looking at things, but at least you know where they're coming from, right? And at least you can okay, I know what to expect here, and you're not going to be like surprised when the other player gets upset when your team misses a shot or something like that. Just you know what you're getting into, I guess. So the second factor that I think it's a critical one, but it's a little mushy, right? And it can be overlooked. I'm calling it compatible play energy, right? And this is basically how the players navigate the game from an energy approach, right? The best way to think about this is, let's assume that you have you miss an easy ball, right? How does your partner react to that, right? Or when your partner misses an easy ball, how do you react to that? Are you supportive of each other, tapping paddles, or is it, one player misses the shot and the other player feels like, oh my God, my partner's mad at me. How are you navigating the energy of that situation? Same thing, when you're playing pickleball, you're going to have situations where you are ahead. And so, it's good. Are you both kind of letting your foot off the pedal, so to speak, and just kind of coasting, and then they get in trouble? Or are you both keeping each other in the right balance, right? Between not maybe obsessing too much, but also not not distancing yourself, but basically getting off the court, right? You're already at lunch thinking about what you're going to have at the order from the menu. So, and the same thing when you're behind. So you're behind, you're down 9-4. Are you both going to keep battling, or will one of the players go, well, it's 9-4, it's time to just wrap this up and let's get moving, and the other player is still battling? That's not that's not very compatible, right? So how you approach the game from an energy standpoint as you flow through different situations, the more compatible you are, the better the partnership is going to be. And again, going back to rec play, if you're playing with somebody who is not going to give their all when you're down, I'm not saying just roll up your bags and go home, but either you can try and meet them, try and reach them somehow, or you just adjust your play accordingly and just you have another match waiting for you as soon as you put your paddle down. So you're not trying to give it your all because your partner's not going to give it their all, right? That's not going to feel good for you when you're out there hustling and your partner's just kind of like, whatever happens, kind of situation when you're super down. So compatible play energy is another factor that I think is really important when you're talking about partnerships. And then the last one is complementary skills. Now this one applies more to competitive situations, although in rec, again, you can just be aware of it. But complementary skills are, let's say you had two players that are super hyper aggressive, attacking everything all the time, and that's probably not going to be ideal. Or if you have two players who are super passive. And there's nothing wrong with passive, by the way. I don't want to use that term negatively. Just, players who just want to set up and want to keep the rally extended, but don't really have anybody neither one of them really ever looks for like the kill shot when it's available. Neither one of those is going to be optimal. Optimal would be where you have one player who is more of a setup kind of a player, like plays a really controlled, patient game, and then another player who's the finisher. So when you look at the top two teams in both men and women's, you look at Ben and Collin Johns, right, over the last few years, and that has been Collin is the setup player, right? Collin plays defense. He hits almost everything soft. He'll speed up a ball once in a blue moon. And then Ben's the aggressive player. So Collin's going to play a nice patient game and let Ben be Ben. Same thing with Annalie Waters and Catherine Parenteau. You have Catherine Parenteau is the setup player, right? She'll attack a ball here and there, but for the most part, that's not her role. Her role is to play really good defense, anchor that right side, and then let Annalie, well, she plays left too, but anchor the side she's on, and then Annalie will basically be the one to finish. So those are the teams that are the most successful out there when they're playing. So complementary skills can be is a helpful factor to consider. Now, that said, that's when you're looking at it cold, objective, right? Just off the court, objectively looking at it. There are when you're talking about playing with friends and traveling and things like that, there's a whole slew of other factors to consider. For instance, say you want to play a tournament circuit. Okay, you've decided 2025, I'm going to go play 6 tournaments in 5 states plus mine, something like that. Well, you need to find a player or a couple of players maybe who want the same thing, who are willing to travel to those places, who are willing to commit the time and money and energy to go to these places and play in these tournaments. Without that, the rest of it just falls apart, right? It doesn't matter. Another thing I would suggest, and you can put this under compatible play energy, but do you want to be with that person? Like enjoy them, right? If you don't enjoy their company, if you don't enjoy going to lunch after you played or dinner or seeing them in the morning before you play, whatever, it's not the same as for pros. It's business, right? So pros can just say, okay, we're going to play together. Some pros don't even practice that much together because they're not near each other and things like that. So they practice when they can, but for the most part, it's just I'm here, let's play a couple of games, and then they're ready to play the next day in their tournament. So there's other factors that you can consider in your decision making that are not strategically driven or are not driven in terms of what's going to give me the highest chance for success in this partnership from a pickleball standpoint, but are certainly super important in terms of making your decision. But the key takeaway here is doubles pickleball is a team sport. Your performance as a doubles team will vary or will be greatly impacted by the chemistry between you and your partner. The better you play together, the more likely it is that you will be successful as a doubles team. And in the riff, I'll share a personal story, and then I'll ask you a question just to get your brain thinking about it, about what it is that you want for yourself in terms of a partnership for 2025. As we dive into the riff, if you are looking to purchase any gear in 2025, paddles or anything like that, please consider going to our equipment partner, that is Pickleball Central. You'll get the best service, the best pricing, the best fill in the blank in the industry, and you also help support this podcast and the other initiatives that we have to help strengthen pickleball through the transfer of pickleball knowledge. There is a link and a code, and the code actually includes or adds a discount when applicable. It doesn't apply to all products. There are some products that don't have discounts, but when there is a discount, a discount available, you will get it by using this code. Rather than give you the code and the link and then make you write it down and things like that, just go to betterpickleball.com. Click on the top bar. There's a button for resources. You click there. Then that'll open up a page. You'll see Pickleball Central has its logo right there. You click on Pickleball Central, and that'll take you to their page. And the code will be available to you at betterpickleball.com/resources, because the code does change over time. So if you do that, we certainly would appreciate it. And your pricing is the same, knowing that you're supporting your, hopefully among your top 3 content creators. All right, let's go into the riff. So I'll share a personal story, and then we'll talk about you thinking for you for 2025 on this line. So the personal story is we're playing and played with several different players, and I enjoy playing with all the players. They're all different. I know them very well, so I know their tendencies. I know I like to rib them, especially when we're playing like this kind of situation where we're just kind of mixing around. So, so I know them all. But there was one player in particular who I was playing with, and we were ahead in the match. We were playing rally scoring to 21, and we were up, but we were getting the other team was catching up with us, and we were starting to falter some on the serve side. The thirds weren't crisp anymore, and we were getting smashed pretty early on. But we were getting smashed because we were rushing. We were like hitting the third, and then we were just running in. And I was doing it some. My partner was doing it. I would submit more than I was in terms of running up, and then we were just getting smacked with balls. So I went to my partner and I said, "Hey, why don't we just let's just kind of slow things down a little bit, like ourselves. Let's work on our third, or fifth, or seventh, but let's control our tempo." And if you've listened to this podcast before, you know that tempo is such a powerful part of this sport, of our performance in the sport. So we started to control our tempo, and then we really locked it down. We really locked the game down. We forced a couple of errors by our opponents on the return side because we changed our approach. They couldn't just sit like one and done and pass us on their fourth or sixth. They had to keep working. So we forced some errors, and then when we were able to make our way up there, we made our way up to the non-volley zone line under control. We overcame our positional disadvantage, put pressure on them, and then we're able to close out the match. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is, you're welcome to take the strategy part away as well, the tempo and all that. But the real reason I'm sharing with you is in terms of this podcast, the content of this podcast, is that this is a player who I've played with before and who is open to strategic recommendations. And that's something that I am particularly good at. That's actually one of my strong suits, is strategic adjustments in game. And so to be playing with a player who I know I can make recommendations to, and who will take those recommendations, and it's not to say the player just needs to blindly do what I say. That's not the point. But at least listen to what I'm saying and go, okay, let's try it. That makes sense. And then we try it, and then this player was like, oh, that really worked. That really, and I'm like, yeah, it's thought out. It's not, I'm just throwing it out there. And so it changes my dynamic, right? It makes me more engaged as well, because now I can bring to bear the parts of the game that I am particularly good at. And it makes my play better, right? He plays better, I play better, and our team plays better. Again, not just because of the strategic considerations, those are important, but also because we end up rowing in the same direction, right? And there's openness and willingness to receive the information, process it, and then apply it, making us a much more formidable opponent. So that's my personal story on how the strategy is important, but also the way it impacts the team and the playing together part of it. It's as important as just the strategic piece of it. So for 2025, what I would suggest you do in terms of partnerships are give this some thought, right? How are you as a partner, right? In terms of what is it that you're looking for? What's your energy when you play? Are you a supportive partner? Are you bringing your partner down potentially? Right, it happens. We've had student stories, that they've shared with us about, that not realizing what they were doing to their partners, and then once they realized it, they were like, oh, I don't want to do that, and so then they adjusted their behavior. One tip I'll give you is a tip that CJ Johnson, my co-coach, always shares at the camps, which is, consider turning inward when you're on the court. Okay. So think about like you just finished a rally and your partner missed a shot and you're not upset. Yeah, you're fine. Everything's fine. But you turn to the outside. So basically you turn your body toward the sideline instead of toward the middle, towards your partner. It's possible that your partner could misinterpret that situation, right? Because you're turning away and maybe you turned in a way that looked like you were rolling a shoulder or you were, rolling your head or something like that. So your partner is feeling self-conscious because they just popped the ball up or they missed an easy shot or whatever. And so they see an eye roll that obviously you can't see because you're looking away from them. But those kind of things, the mind can play tricks. That is avoided when you turn toward the middle. So you turn toward the middle, you make eye contact with your partner, maybe smile at them, tap their paddle, let them know everything's okay, right? Changes everything, changes the feeling of that. And if you just get into the habit of turning toward the middle rather than turning toward the outside, you'll turn to the middle both when it's maybe not necessary. I mean, it's always good to turn to the middle, right? No downside to it. But maybe, your partner just did a fantastic shot and you turn to the middle, great. But you'll also be turning to the middle by extension or by habit. And so you'll turn to the middle when your partner also makes a mistake. And so everything will be better then as well. So consider doing that for 2025. And then, give some thought to how you come to the game as a partner and perhaps what it is that most works with you in terms of your partners. That'll help you when you're in a situation where you want to identify a partner to play with in some sort of a competitive setting, and also help you navigate rec play, because when you're in rec play, you can better deal with those partners who maybe don't exactly jibe with your approach, like your energy on the court and things like that. And you go out on the court prepared and ready to deal with that. It makes it easier to navigate. So that's a good tip for you there for 2025. Next week's podcast, I'm going to play with the idea of, we're going to play with the idea of your journey, your pickleball journey. The Better Pickleball coaching team said we need something written on this, so I wrote something about it, and I said, well, that's a really good thing to share with the podcast as well. The idea of your journey and when are you going to get to where you got to go in your journey. So make sure you tune in next week for that episode of Pickleball Therapy. If you have a minute to rate and review the podcast, always helps us reach additional players just like you. Remember the Pickleball Central link if you can use that, and then our event coming up. We have an event coming up on January 16th, which is going to be a really cool, basically new year, new you concept, but it's actionable stuff that you can actually do. So like roughly 10 minutes a day, and you'll see changes in your game. So be on the lookout for registration for that and join us for that event on January 16th. If you enjoyed the podcast, remember to share it with your friends. If you enjoyed the podcast, they probably will too. Hope you have a great week, a happy new year, and I will see you in 2025. Be well.